So the first example of triangulation, white to move. And now we see that black has the opposition, right? Because when you have the opposition, you say step aside. So white doesn't want to have to, move away and let black in. Well, ultimately, white needs to make it so it's black's, right? And then black has to move away and white can make progress and try to use this 2 pawns against 1, but it's tricky. Okay, so what was the move? First move, well, we can actually do 2 moves. We can go king e5 or king d4, and we have the class here, so we just looked at both, and we see that both actually win. It's a slightly different win, right? But we looked at king d4 first, right? And then we had king c6, and then king c4, and they have to go back, and we get the opposition. And once you have the opposition, you go here. And what was the move, guys?
c6.
Play pawn c6. And the king goes away, well, you just take or push. So if they take, and what was the tricky thing that we do here?
d6.
Right, you don't take.
D6.
You actually don't do the intuitive thing to take, because then black gains the opposition. But you don't have any waiting moves. You go back, they just repeat the position. You push, that's a draw. Again, you need it to be black's move here to leave, to come in. So you go to d6, get the opposition. If they push, you can just push right away. They can't stop you coming in first. You're gonna mate in a couple moves. So they try to go here, take, white gains the opposition. So ultimately it comes down to this basic theory, right? King goes to b8, and this is the other way. You either get to come in with your king and push, or you just push like this, where it's not the king. You don't want the opposition here because, otherwise it'd be a draw, right? But this is where we want, effectively start. No, this is where we get the opposition. And then the king goes to b8, and now that leads to the win, where we usher in the pawn and queen, right? Again, we looked at this, lasso the king back, quickest way to win. Mate. Okay, so what's the only other move? We were looking at king. Also, there's the king e5 line. So this way works. The only difference is that you get to c4. Now, in the king e5 line, it also works. Now you're gonna go to d4, but does it really make a difference? No, that actually well, obviously, if they go this way, you're just gonna come in, wrap around, win the pawn, and promote. Now, if they go here, that's actually transposing. It's the same exact position. So then the tricky thing is, well, what if they go there? What if they do something else, right? What if they go back somewhere? So, well, if they stray too far away, yes, black gets to keep the opposition, but this is where it's moot. He doesn't need the opposition. He doesn't want the opposition here, because what does white do? On the spot with?
Push the pawn, right?
Just push the pawn, yeah. Again, you go here, it's a little messy, right? They get the opposition. So that's the original position, then we have to do our triangulation all over again. But this wins on the spot. You're threatening to take the pawn. And if they take you, of course, they're outside the box. This is the box. And the king can't step in, it's your move. And now the box is very small and they're not getting in. You can easily count, but it's like a shortcut. So if you're far away, you can make that diagonal and quickly see where the box is and see, it depends whose move it is. But if your opponent's king is able to step inside that box, even on the edge of it, they can step into the box, then they can stop you. Unless the king can usher, but let's say your king is far away, unless your king can usher in as well. Okay, so we have, we had this and we push. And what's the other one? If the king is to come this way, we don't even need to push. What do?
Take on b7.
You take, and then the double pawns are helping you. They cover c7, c8. That's one of the examples of the merits of double pawns, covering a lot of squares, right? And then you get your queen and you win. Okay, so that's the first one, really. You guys have any questions about this one?
No, thank you.
Yeah, got that one down. You come in, get your opposition. Oh, wait, last one. You got to make sure you got all the lines down, because it looks like they almost have a draw, right? This is the final line. King goes in the corner. So it looks like you're going to chase them in the corner and they're going to get stalemated, which they would if you went ahead and went here and blundered. That's a stalemate. So what do we do instead? Of course, we only have one other way to make progress, which is c6, right? And now if you go king b8, that doesn't work, because there's no, if you here, here's a stalemate, but it's with but it doesn't work because you're pushing with check, and you are, again, we can get our rook and have fun and checkmate them.
Mhm.
Okay, so then the only other move is to take. And now we have our, again, fundamental theory of king and pawn. Interestingly, though,
Mhm.
well, they have that pawn, so we take away stalemating possibilities. And all we have to do, again, we don't even have to take their pawn. It's kind of like the king d6 line. And that line, we don't want to take their pawn to get opposition ourselves. In this case, we could if we want, but what's our most efficient win?
King c7.
Right, and that's where Lynn saw this. Yeah, Lynn
Yeah.
said king c8, king c7, it doesn't matter. And they're stalemated, quote, stalemated. They have, but it's not actually a stalemate because they have pawn move, and then they get mated in 2 moves. Yep, so that's that one. So ultimately, the trick is, though, that you want to have the exact same position, but you want to pass the move on to your opponent. Now, if you were to shuffle side by side, they just meet you, right? They're not going to go back. If they go back, then yeah, you come in and get the opposition. But they keep getting the opposition, and it looks like this trick is not going to work. Here,
I have one
that's
little
just not
tiny
gonna work.
question.
Yes.
Like when, you know, you were saying like both those 2 squares, I'm sorry, my internet's all messed up, but what about king e4?
King e4, which, oh, like if you do this now?
Yeah,
Good question. Opposition here?
I just don't like,
No, this doesn't work, actually. They can't step away. You have this one. They have this win.
ah,
So they can't go
okay.
there. So what happens? Diagonal opposition.
e6.
I think we might find ourselves repeating. E6, you said?
No,
I didn't
after
see any
he
Big
Yeah.
goes-
C thing that actually wins. Again, because that pass pawn just can't stop that pass pawn. And again, here it just fails because the B pawn can't come in. So it would be probably, it might take a little longer. Let's see. Here, you're gonna come back again. You know, it doesn't really matter. No, I don't think it makes a difference. It's just like
Okay.
it's like going to E5, isn't it? Because we still got our opposition. So I think that might work just the same. King E4. Okay, let's say again, they can't leave this area. So because of this nice little tactic you have with C6, breakthrough tactic, they can't really do anything. Let's say they wait. Okay, they go back and wait. Right now, when you come in, oh, that might be a problem with it. So if you go here, they get opposition, then they're repeating the same, and you don't want to repeat this 3 times. Get the 3rd time, you got to be careful for 3-fold repetition.
Mhm.
Yeah, it'll repeat the position. So Nikki, maybe, yeah, it might just be that it takes you a move longer. That's why. So
Okay.
whereas with King E5, the thing is, yes, normally they'd be able to get the opposition, but they can't get the opposition because this catch right here. There's a catch to it, right?
Because of the catch.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then again, now
The
we're
king can't move too far.
and this is
back.
obviously
He
lose. This
can't
is just
move
losing
too
very
far
quickly.
away.
That's
Right, yeah.
What's that?
No, I was just saying the black king can't move too far
Yeah,
away.
exactly. Because otherwise, like there tends to be a trick when your pawns are that far advanced. We happen to be up a pawn, but there are still many scenarios where, you know, like there's stalemate cases. But it just, the stalemate case doesn't work. We always have that breakthrough tactic. Okay, so does that make sense on the first one?
Yes.
Okay, now for the second one, which includes rooks, right? So we are here, yeah. This time it's black to move. So this is Tall versus Spassky, 1965. And well, anyone watching the video, anyone reviewing this, you can just pause it here before we say the answer. But you guys already know the answer. But the key thing is, though, what's the main first? You know, before you even look at the move, it's kind of one of those scenarios where it's useful to just know the context. You know, what is going on here, and then the moves will make sense. I mean, if you're solving a puzzle, you might just be like, oh, forcing moves on tactics on chess.com or Lee Chess, say, okay, check or capture. Or like if you're doing those puzzle rushes, right? It's almost always going to be, okay, it's a check. Oh, it's capture check. It's a checkmate, or it's a back rank mate, or it's a fork or something, like pretty straightforward. Obviously, this is not that forcing. It will ultimately be forcing when you get your Zugzwang, but you got to do like some finesses. So this is quiet move, which I would kind of view that as being on the bottom of the forcing move hierarchy, right? So I would tend to say capture checks, then checks, then captures, then threats, then quiet moves. So quiet move is like you're about to threaten a threat, kind of. You're like threatening to make a threat, kind of thing, right? It's pretty slow. So those are the most subtle, some of the hardest, because if you do regular puzzles, you're not going to see this type of thing until you get much higher, usually, right? again, if you're looking at like what, up to 1800 even or 1600, you're pretty much just going to see checkmates, some check leading to like whatever, a skewer, a fork, something like that, or promotion tactics. Okay, so ultimately it leads to the same thing, but a little setup. So we need to triangulate, of course, that's our hint. But what's the context? What's the main problem for white here? There are two problems. Well, many problems. First of all, he's down a pawn. They're down a pawn. But what are the main problems for white in terms of stopping you?
Well, his rook has nowhere to move, really.
Right, and that's where we see Zugzwang opportunities. So you can kind of sense this is where you can be very patient. Because you say, look, I'm not going to do anything too hasty here. I could take my time because I know my opponent I got him, on the hook. So the rook is stuck on the side, literally no legal moves without losing it. Well, he has 4 legal moves, but they're all losing. Okay, and then as for the king, does he want to move?
No, he doesn't want to move.
Nope, he doesn't want to move either because you're simply going to keep advancing. I mean, if you only make king moves, well, again, it's our move. But if he were to only make king moves, that's the problem. We want it to be his move. So he doesn't have to yet. But if it's his move, he moves his king back, we push. He moves his king, we promote, and we mate with the rook and the queen. So yeah, he doesn't want to move either one. And that rook still has the same problem as he's doing that. So all he has is our king moves and allowing promotion or hang the rook. So we just need to pass on the move to him. So just like the first example, we want the exact same position where it's white to move. So how do we do that? We triangulate. Where do we triangulate? And we
Because black has
about which way
several moves that he can go to, and white really doesn't, have too many moves to go to without losing. So
right.
Triangulate. What do we say? C3.
Well, that's where, funny enough, that's what we looked at. We
C2.
checked afterwards. Funny enough, the computer recommended C3, and it's like, just kidding, I'm going to come back to D3 again. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's the kind of thing. It's the kind of thing you can do it once and repeat it, but we know it's not as precise, I guess, because then it realized the computer does weird stuff like that sometimes, like repeating unnecessarily. Just maybe it's almost like taunting. You'll see that. I remember I had a laugh with my opponent once where he was talking about AlphaZero versus Stockfish, and he made the observation that this thing is like sadistic. It's a computer, or I guess it was apparently Mittens was kind of sadistic. Maybe they programmed it to be like kind of taunting its opponent. But I guess AlphaZero is not. I don't know if it was designed, like it just came up with these things on its own. Like I don't think it was programmed to be sadistic, but it would do little things like that. But we call that literally cat and mousing. Speaking of Mittens, right? Cat and mousing is you kind of, you're not really necessarily going for Zugzwang yet, but you're kind of, toying around with them. Maybe you repeat the move twice. I did that once to my opponent, actually. The one time I beat him in a classical game, like a strong 2300 level player. And I like was going for, I didn't want I was up a pawn, but I repeated the position on the second repetition, he blundered his rook. So he could have tried to go for threefold repetition, then I probably would have done something else. But I mean, I got to try and press with the extra pawn. But because, I was just kind of toying around, essentially, like, let's wait a little bit, let's maneuver. And on the second time, well, I guess he didn't want the draw. He was trying to avoid it, even if I had gone for it. Then he blundered. So anyway, you kind of toy around sometimes. So I'm not sure if the computer does that to induce an error or what, but you may as well if it doesn't hurt you, But King C3 doesn't win on the spot. So it just depends. It's actually wasting a move because he can go rook E4. It's only move, then you come back and he can go back. I think, again, it was looking at like a rook retreat, but if we go here, it's the same position. So, okay, so if that's not that by process elimination, it's one of these. And as we determined, doesn't matter.
Yes.
Ultimately, we want to get to probably the same square. So it doesn't, as long as we can triangulate and reach that square, well, we just make a different shaped triangle, sort of. Well, which one did Lynn, which one did you want to do?
I think we said C2.
Yeah, C2 works. Well, D2 works as well. The point is we want to get to C3. We don't go to C3 yet, because then again, we're gonna have to go back. So we're gonna get to C3 and only move. Again, this is where you see that if they go back, you push, if you move, you queen. And
Right. But
move
that's
the rook,
why
you
I
still
thought
queen.
we said he didn't want to go to D2
Nope.
because if he does, you just push over and queen.
Yeah, so they're gonna try this. Their only hope is to move the rook. So we go to C3, and they can check and take the pawn. But as we figured out, we can let them take the pawn because we're going to take their pawn. So we switch our main asset was the F3 pawn, but now we already know if we liquidate, are we winning the king and pawn endgame?
Yes.
Yeah, just knee jerk win. Move your king in. Again, we could just, if you start pushing, they're going to bother you a little bit. So no need to mess with that. Shoulder them out, make your job very easy, and you run the pawn. They can't even touch the pawn. Okay, so that's just useful. Again, it is technically opposition, but it's more importantly is that you just, even if they're here, whatever, or here, it's not opposition then, but it's just that, you've taken away the access for the king, XXX. Okay, well, in this case, circle. Yeah, so that doesn't work for them. You just liquidate favorably. Okay, so where are we? We finish our triangle. Now, if they are to go back, no, sorry. We don't go there because we repeat. C3 now, and then we do our triangle, and now it's their move. So D2 again. It doesn't matter. See, it's the same triangle. I mean, you do the triangle to read. You achieve king D3, but making it their move. Again, king back, push. Now they have no rook moves, and they have to, give up the rook and let you queen. You're protected. So yeah, it's there's nothing good to do. So when you see king here. So really all they can do is the check. Then you take the pawn. Only other thing they can do is here, here, and they have to give ground, right? Only king moves. Let's look at the king move though. That's it though. It's obvious now. Oh, wait. Well, I mean, we can look at this. Yeah, you have to look at this. Now they're still in front of it. Okay, now we got to Zugzwang them twice. But it's easy because it's our move, but they're going to be restricted no matter what. They still have no moves. We got freedom. We got some opportunities here. It doesn't, we don't even have to be precise really, because we're going to promote that pawn. So we could kind of do whatever we want. We have them in Zugzwang almost, we can almost do this with our eyes closed. So what are you going to do now?
King E3.
Just king E3, yeah. Actually, no. Well, never mind. You have to be this would be kind of annoying. It's not that simple, but this is the most obvious move, of course. And like we were talking about, you can treat this as just a king and pawn endgame, because we kind of canceled out the rooks. Again, this rook has no moves, and that's the main reason they're in Zugzwang, because they have to make the king move. And yeah, it'd be just as if we had pushed the pawn, making the move and coming in here like the other example that we saw. And that's it. So let's review it. Again, it doesn't matter on the first move whether you go to C2 or D2. So we can just see C2, as you mentioned at first, Lynn. Rook here, king C3, and either they come here, you win the pawn, trade down and win. And the only other thing they can do is just not take your pawn, and you just win a free C pawn. Sure, their rook's liberated, but I mean, you could just kind of ensure.
Is there a little bit of psychology?
Pawn. What's that?
Is there a little bit of psychology? Like if you go to D2, you might they might blunder, move the king back.
Why do you think they'd be more likely to blunder with this move? That's interesting. Well, why do you think they'd be more likely to blunder with D2 than C2?
They might think they're trying to keep the opposition or something.
Oh, they're like, let's see. Maybe they go here.
He's
Well,
still
either way, we got this. Yeah, Brooklyn.
I mean, so if you induce like king F1, then you
That's
just win already, right? Then you don't have to think so hard.
If what?
If you can induce king F1, then they already lost the game, right?
And if we go king C2 and king F1 and push and rook over, it might almost transpose, but it might be you're closer in that case. Yeah, you're still winning though, of course. Now you have this one. That doesn't make a difference. And again, you get the scenario they can't trade, and they check. Yeah, you have to like inch your way in, and you're gonna start promoting. But you have that. The nice thing is they can't even you don't even have to do Lucanus position really, because they are just tied down to the F pawn.
And then the rook is just going to be moving around because the king can't move at that point.
Right. We can keep, at the very least, we can easily get a Lucanus position. Like we can hang the F pawn at the right moment if we need to, but we don't need to. I don't think so, because we're just going to be able to get in front of the pawn, and if they're not going to have too many checks. We can we can actually then we can build a bridge to allow our king to come out and not be checked. But yeah, they could take. It doesn't matter. By the time they take our F pawn, we're promoting, and we're going to win the rook. Okay, so as you said, Andrew, if you go king D2 and rook E4, yeah, then that's where we're going to triangulate. Oh, wait a second. No, sorry, king C3. Then we triangulate, come, take this or come back, and we achieve what we want there as we looked at. But if they go king back, okay, we're pushing again, right? Well, actually, you don't have to push yet. We could come here, and that's the value, as you said, of having the king closer to the center. That should be pretty easy because you've taken away rook E4. I think that actually makes our job possibly simpler. Does this pretty much transposes what we looked at, where they're gonna have to move the king? Oh, but we do want to keep away the rook e4 prospect. How about this move? We can do that, come down to mate them. They can give this away, whatever. I mean, that's fine. You could take the pawn and promote soon. But the other move would be. Let's see. I think we looked at this scenario where we're like, oh, no stalemate for white. Because at the very least, they always have the H pawn move.
Yep.
There's not gonna be any stalemating chances there. And yeah, they have no moves again, no rook moves. And any, yeah, they're gonna have to hang the rook. So hang the rook. Thank you very much. Takes. And we can simply go here, give them a pawn move and mate in one. So cool. That's it. You guys have any questions about that one? So it doesn't make a difference D2 or C2, but the point is on the next move after here, king rook e4, king then goes to C3, allowing the check. As we said at first, like, do we want to let this happen? But yeah, we kind of have to. The point is though that they really can't liquidate. If they liquidate, we win. And if they don't liquidate, then we just get the exact, again, we're on move 3. See here, we're on move 3. We just played king d3. And in the original position, exactly here, exact same position, but we have to move. So in order for it to benefit us in this position, again, we have to make it, we have to do our little triangulation and then make it their move. And then they have to give ground. And again, we could really think of this in many cases like a king and pawn endgame once we're guarding. And then once we're here, it's like a king and pawn endgame where they have to move and we come in and play. Okay, cool. So I'll pause that there. But yeah, really great job, guys, on that.
Thank
That
you.
was good. I didn't